welcome to KPMG's Clarity in the Boardroom. This time we focus on fraud in Switzerland, and here to discuss this is Nico and Matthias from KPMG. Now, fraud is an ugly word, not a very nice topic to have to discuss, but it is costing the Swiss economy hundreds of millions of francs every year. And Matthias, what sort of fraud are we talking about here? What crimes are being committed?
We talk about fraud committed by the employees being corruption, misstatement of financial statements, misappropriation of assets, or a new phenomenon is about cybercrime.
So we're really talking about the employees here. And Nico, are you seeing that all this activity, all this crime is taking place in the digital world?
Absolutely. So cyber criminals, for example, are starting to become more and more active, and we see much more of that. Every day, companies fall victim to that. But also perpetrators of traditional fraud are using the technology to their advantage to commit their crimes.
So online, on the one hand, has actually made this sort of crime easier, but also it's easier to track, if I'm not mistaken.
True. It's very difficult not to leave any traces in this digital world. So
these employees, and you mentioned employees, it is unfortunately management as well. So the fraud is taking place at home within companies. Is this shocking? I mean, given Switzerland's a rather ethical country, is this sort of a dissatisfied employee here, or is it human greed?
It's human greed. It's about 50% of all employees, they kind of turn into fraudsters, and it's still the biggest risk for company sits within their own staff.
So it really is sort of half, isn't it, of crime that's taking place in Switzerland that's happening, being done by the employees, a shocking percentage there. When we look at the numbers in Switzerland, actually the amount of money that's being sort of stolen, if you will, is less than previous years, but actually the cases, I mean, when you look at 57 cases here, 50 cases over there, there's still a lot of cases taking place.
Yes. Yeah, the number of cases more or less stable. Yes, we see still a significant amount of 166 million Swiss francs, and it's not a trend that is going down. The phenomenon, it's just this year it's a bit lower.
And of course, they're not all reported. We'll get back to that in a moment. But Nico, technically speaking, you have to have access to the data to analyse what's gone on behind the scenes. How easy is it to access that data?
True. So companies have a lot of the data in-house, and a lot of the evidence that we are looking for to solve such a crime sits in the data. So companies provide us with their data. Obviously, we have to stay within the law and take care of things like data privacy and secrecy. And therefore, we have secure labs and secure servers within Switzerland to give that trust to our clients.
And when you're uncovering a crime, we're talking, it could be algorithms, it could be data distortion, I guess a whole series of things going on there. So what tools are you using to try and find this needle in the haystack?
So it's like you say, this is finding the needle in the haystack, and with ever-growing data volumes, it becomes trickier with the day. So we need more sophisticated tools, and technologies like visualization, artificial intelligence, and machine learning are helping us a lot in that respect.
Can you tell me more about how your tool works to uncover these crimes?
Yeah, so we have tools where we can feed with emails and with chat sessions or SMS messages, and the tool tries to make sense out of that, based on mathematical algorithms, but also based on language that it detects, and all without human intervention.
And this tool is your tool. I think it's called BrainSpace, and it's really trying to connect the dots to uncover the crime.
So that tool is a commercially high-end tool that we deploy, but we also have our own developed tools in-house that we deploy in our investigations.
Okay, so just coming back to how many cases are actually reported and not. I mean, what is it you're doing at KPMG to support companies uncover these crimes that are committed by employees that, say, law enforcers can't support with? What's the main difference there, Matthias?
So when a company uncovers a fraudulent activity going on, they actually have two possibilities. They either call the law enforcement, be it the police or the public prosecutor, or they reach out to a private investigator. So we can help companies to investigate into these matters.
And would you get involved once a crime has been uncovered, or would you be sort of present behind the scenes along the way?
usually you are involved when a crime is uncovered. You have to know that usually the suspicion is not strong enough that would justify for the law enforcement to open a case. So that's the chance for us. Then company, if they want to know what's going to happen, they reach out to us and ask for our help.
So you use your technology, your expertise to really pinpoint where this has happened.
Exactly.
And is it a lot of cases that go unreported, would you say?
That's correct. There is a number of 5% of annual turnover. That's the cost of fraud and economic crime, which is quite a significant number.
It is. Yeah. And I'm betting there's a lot of CEOs out there quite nervous at this point in time, thinking, oh my gosh, I hope my employees aren't up to misdoing, wrongdoing. So what can companies actually do, Matthias? What can they do to prevent this or indeed uncover it when it does happen?
Yeah. It's important to have a fraud response plan, to know what is a company going to do when they uncover a fraud. That's very important. Then, of course, there is a lot about communication. Probably have to communicate internally, but also with the regulators or law enforcement. That is very important. You also have to think about certainly journalists calling and asking questions. You know, they heard something. What is going on in your company? So companies need to be prepared for that moment. And then, of course, there needs to be a decision. What needs to be taken? What are the steps? What kind of investigation are we going to do? That's all important in this very first instance.
It is a serious issue and it does need addressing. It has to be stopped, certainly reduced, and that's where your services do help. So thank you very much for discussing that. And if you find that your numbers aren't adding up, your balance sheet isn't as it should be, then please do get in touch to discuss what can be done.